prophets, to the other apostles, whoever teach by the Spirit. Everybody shalom to the hopeful elect that was scattered forth on the earth in the same Spirit. Teach His word and believe in His word, willing that they can continue to endure and be sincere. Shalom to the Akwathiyam, believers in His faith and His truth. The one that you all continue to be diligent, continue to pursue your love, which is being a loving, and silent, and virtuous wife. Lord willing, wants to have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. Right, this lesson I'm bringing out two verses that was brought out on yesterday's live. Rereading them again, and it just had the thought I might as well, go and bring it out. First, let me read this verse. I'm gonna read it in the KJV and NLT. This is First Peter's chapter 4 and verse 1 and 2 in the KJV. It says, "For as much then as Mashiach has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin, that he no longer shall live the rest of his life, live the rest of his time in the flesh, to the lust of men, but to the will of God." In the NLT, it says, "So then, since a Mashiach suffered physical pain, you must arm yourselves with the same attitude he had, and be ready to suffer. 2, for if you have suffered physically for Hamashiach, you have finished with sin." Right? You have finished with sin. Again, what did it say? Verse 2, Salaki. It says, you won't spend the rest of your lives chasing your own desires, but you will be anxious to do the will of God. Right? I'm gonna read that again in NLT. Verse 1, "So then, since a Mashiach suffered physical pain, you must arm yourselves with the same attitude he had, and be ready to suffer too. For if you have suffered physically for Hamashiach, you have finished with sin." You won't spend the rest of your lives chasing your own desires, but you will be anxious to do the will of God. Right? What did I need? It was something I needed out of this verse. Right? Because the main point is you want to be anxious, or you want to be eager to do the will of the Lord. But let me see if this is the verse. Is this what I wanted? No, I think it was verse 2. Right? Because it said that he no longer shall live the rest of his life in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of God. Right? The first verse I actually want to go to is Romans the 7th chapter, verse 4. Right? Because of the lust of the flesh, which we all have a problem with it. But, being reconciled, back to the Heavenly Father through Yahawashi. This is Romans chapter 7, verse 4. It says, "Wherefore, my brethren, ye also are become dead to the law by the body of Hamashiach, that ye should be married together, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto God." That's the will of God. Right? So when it said you dead to the law, basically going into no longer under the penalty of the law, right? Being put to death for it, but really you got the sacrifice, and you have the temple, the ceremonial laws, right? The things that we do as a ceremony, right? Right? That's crazy. That's crazy work, right? But when you look at this verse, it's saying through the death, basically, of Yahawashi, believers no longer are in condemnation of the law of Moses, dealing with specifically the sacrificial and ceremonial law aspect of the law Now they are joined to Yahawashi in a new spiritual relationship, which is really going into the new covenant, right? So again, the dead to the law is no longer under its penalty. The body of the son is his sacrifice, him sacrificing himself, right? Married to another is the new covenant with Hamashiach Yahushai. The old covenant is under the law, but this new being married to another is being married unto Hamashiach Yahushai. Revelations 19, it says, the bride of the Lamb makes herself ready, right? And we doing that now. Let's just get a few precepts real quick. Let's get Romans 16 and 14. And it reads, it says, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. You're under that favor because of Yahawashi, right? Truly under Yahawashi, we're under the new covenant. Now, this does not mean that you should not do the law. It just takes away the sacrificial and the temple, the ceremonies that we do in the temple. But you have moral laws, right? We have dietary laws, right? That you still should be doing, right? Of course, we have marriage laws too, right? That still pertain. Like we should not, man should not be laying with another man's wife. A woman should not be laying with another man if she got a husband, right? Laying with your daughter or laying with your sons, right? Or a man laying with his wife's sister, right? We still have laws that we actually can actually do. Now, some is actually you might slip, you know, but if you have the spirit of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi in you, you're trying to do your best, right, to please the Lord, right? Plain and simple, right? Let's get Galatians chapter 2. Galatians chapter 2, verse 19 and 20. It says, for I through the law am dead to the law. How are we dead to the law? Because we're not under the penalty of the law, right? It says that I might live unto God. I am crucified with Hamashiach. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Hamashiach liveth in me. In the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. This is another reason why you should be living eagerly. Like, not even living eagerly. I mean, you should be eagerly trying to live in a worthy life unto the Lord. But you want to be eager to do the will of Yahweh Shemal Shai. Like for me, the other video that I got loading back here, I thought that was the end all be all, right? But then trying to read before I step in the house, and I said, man, I gotta do a live. I gotta do a lesson. Now, I'm not boasting me up. I'm just using the example of being eager. Actually, let's look up the word being eager. Eager, of a person wanting to do or have something very much, right? So brothers be one to do a lesson. Brothers be one to exhortate one another. Brothers be one to go into prophecy. I wanted to go into prophecy, but then I went into Esau. So I said, you know what? Let's go into this. Then I wanted to go into Ephesians chapter 2, verse 11, dealing with being reconciled to Yahawashi, right? Because no one would Yahawashi plays a huge role for this new marriage that we're walking into, right? Being married to Mashiach Yahushai, right? You supposed to. It's just like when somebody proposes somebody y'all might not be married yet on the east side term. If you didn't consummate yet, that woman is still trying to perfect herself to be worthy in this man's eye. Like, cause after he consummates you, it's over, said and done. Ain't no turning back. Ain't no none of that. So you want to present yourself as the wife to be, right? The one that you know what he got lucky, or the man, she's the one, right? It doesn't matter any woman, or you know, a woman should make herself well known unto that man by the way that she move and how she think, how she represent. Hey, if she a mother, how she deal with children, right? And this is the way that we're presenting ourselves to Yahweh Shai, right? Being eager to do His will, being eager to be a man, being eager to be a woman, being eager to be a wife, being eager to be a husband or be a father or a mother or to be a child. Every day we should always be thinking of the Lord, doing something for Yahawah Shemel Shai. Somebody might be putting more time, right? Brothers might be fasting 3, 4 times, 5 times out the week. Brothers might be doing 3 lessons, 4 lessons in a day, right? Everybody has a different thing in this thing, but if the Lord lives in you, you're going to be doing the most that spirit is whatever talent, whatever how much the spirit of the Lord got in you, you're going to be doing the most, right? Because you're eager to do it. You're desirous. You have a desire to do these things. Let's read again. I am I am crucified with Hamashiach. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but Hamashiach liveth in me. Right. This goes into St. John 15. Right. They go to the lesson. Lucky. Right. The Lord abideth in you. If He abideth in you, that means He remains in you. You must remain in the Lord. Right. You must remain in the Lord. Sometimes, yeah, you get exhausted, but it says it in this thing. This thing is exhausting, but it's all for a great benefit, a great purpose. It says, in the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of Yahawah, the Son of God, who loved me and gave Himself for me. Right? And sometimes, hey, we mess up, and sometimes you rebuking and correcting yourself. Just saying, being honest. I know me. I wasn't correcting myself on a level that I am now. Being able to see it, even when I do it, or even if it's something that's not, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not really interested in doing that. Right? You check yourself. Yarmayan, he did a lesson months ago where he says, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Right? And this is how it is in the spirit to be more example of Yahawah Shemal Shai, because He's seeing you. Right? You want to be an example for Yahawah Shemal Shai. Right? Let's get another one. Let's go to Galatians chapter 3 in verse 24 to 25. It says, wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Hamashiach. Right? It's still brothers still in the schoolmaster. They haven't grown. Brothers are still confident saying Jesus. I used to do that. And brothers be like, yo, I'm telling you, you in the spirit, I bet you gonna grow. I can see it. Just start saying His actual name. I had to put that name down and I started to grow. I started to have more of a diligent. You know what? I started to find more lessons. Right? Before I used to do lessons on words. Now I'm able to read and do a lesson off of what I read. I'm able to hear prophecies, read, go over it, do some searching, go to this engine, go to this internet to get some certain facts to add on to a lesson. Going into parables, going into dark sayings, but it's not of me. It's because Yahawashi liveth within me, which I truly believe. And, you know, you graduate in this thing the more you get closer to Yahawashi, right? Because He said in St. John 5 and 39, you think the scriptures give you eternal life, but they testify of me. The scriptures point us to Yahawashi, right? So wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Hamashiach, that we might be justified by faith, that we might be made righteous through the faith in Hamashiach Yahawashi, right? It says, but after that faith is come, we are no longer under the schoolmaster. We're not under the law, right? You establish the law, but we're really under Hamashiach Yahawashi. Yahawashi did so much more for you, right? That the law could not do. You had to apply the law within you, being in this flesh, right? The Yahawashi dwells in you, right? What is it? If the Father draw you to the Son, St. John 6 and 44, right? Yahawashi is the one that's going to raise you up in the last days, not the law. We can never keep it 100, right? But now with the faith of Yahawashi, you want to do everything to please the Lord. Let me get that in Sirach. And there's a few verses that go into it, but I just want to go to this quick one, 1, 2, 3 with the quickness. This is Sirach chapter 2, Ecclesiasticus, starting at verse 15. It says, they that fear Yahawah Bahasham Shai will not disobey His word, and they that love Him will keep His ways. Hold on, wait a second. Let me get another one. What is it? Luke, the 4th chapter, Just like Matthew 4, verse 4, Yahawah answered him, saying, it is written, that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God. Every word is from Genesis to Second Maccabees, Genesis to Revelations. You want to do the best that you can. You want to be eager to do the will of the Heavenly Father. Going back to First Peter chapter 4, verse 2 in the NLT, you won't spend the rest of your lives chasing your own desires, but you will be anxious to do the will of God. Basically, be eager to do the will of God. Right? From Genesis to Second Maccabees, Genesis to Revelations. And you know, another way is like you're applying what you're learning in the scriptures in your life. We all brothers always teaching the worst is about to come. Jacob Trouble. You're applying it in your life so that when the worst do come, you're not going to be burdened that your house get taken or your car get taken. You're ready to call on the Lord to be like, hey, what should I do? Right? Back to Sirach, Ecclesiasticus 2, verse 16. They that fear Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi will seek that which is well pleasing unto him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law. Right? So if you fear the Lord, basically reverence, high reverence, or you terrified of the Lord, you're going to seek. When we go into seek in the Hebrew, it's kodash. No, not kodash, yarash. And it goes into investigate. You want to investigate. You want to seek that which is well pleasing. You want to investigate what is well pleasing to Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. Through the Spirit, you're going to be filled with the law. You're gonna do the things that you should do instead of the things that you shouldn't do. Look at this, Romans 2 and 14. Some of the Gentiles, the dispersed, the foreigner Israelites, right? Romans 2 and 14, it says, for when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, right? So naturally, without even being taught the law, the Gentiles, some of the Gentiles is doing the law without even knowing it. Look at today. It's some Jake that's not eating pork. And hey, that's a law. You shouldn't be doing that. You got some sisters, oh, I'm old fashioned. I follow the ways of my grandma. I'm talking about real women that were old fashioned, from a child to a teenager wearing dresses all the time, not even wearing no pants. Right? Back in my old day, this Puerto Rican lady I used to be with, she was raised wearing a dress all the time. Now I don't know how she dressing now. My brother's wife, Issa, um, when we first met her, you know, being raised as a Christian, always wearing a dress, always. When she got older and moved out of her family house, she started wearing what she want, right? Being raised old-fashioned is picking up what our foremothers used to do, dress modest, covered up. Some of us is naturally following the law without even being taught it, right? Brothers is growing their beard, not shaving. Like, yo, brother, you ever shave your beard? Hags, no, man, I ain't shaving it. Guess what? That brother is following the law without even knowing it, right? So even through the Spirit, some of us is going to actually be doing this law naturally, and we're going to even be doing it just by even knowing. Because if you're reading to do the will of the Lord, blessed is he that readeth. You're going to make time out your days. 7 days out the week, 30 days in each month. If we was look at it in the Hebrew calendar, 356 days in a year in Esau's calendar, right? You have time to get into this word. Literally. Literally, there's no excuses, let alone watching a video, right? Sometimes I got to watch 3 videos before I do a lesson. Sometimes those lessons inspire me to do a lesson off of a verse. Of brother, you know what? I want to go on this because I was inspired by this lesson. Sometimes I might not do a lesson on Esau because every brother doing it. I might not do a lesson on IUIC doing a false doctrine or whatever the heck that they doing, Shabba Dabba Ding Dong, and I might attack something else that a brother said in the lesson, because we want to edify the sheep through the whole volume of the book, right? So now that we got that, let's get Hebrews, the 10th chapter, right? And all these scriptures is inspired by Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. Don't take what anybody say, right? You got to believe in this whole thing, right? Why use it if you don't believe in the whole thing? This is Hebrews, the 10th chapter, It's a, you know what? I'm gonna even be even player. We gonna go even in to the NLT too. So I'm gonna read KJV one verse, KJV NLT. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna dissect it. This is dealing with Yahawashi being the perfect sacrifice, because when we went back to Romans 7:4, it said the body of the Son. Yahawashi is that perfect sacrifice. That's why this marriage is going to be so perfect, right? Because in the end, the Lord is going to write the law in our hearts. It's going to be deeply in our minds. We would never, ever go off. So Hebrews chapter 10, verse 1 in the KJV, it says, "For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never, with those sacrifice which they offered year by year, continually make the comers thereunto perfect." And there's multiple things in the law that's a foreshadow of Yahawashi. Melchizedek, the Levites, it just goes to Yahawashi. The high priest going into the most holiest place. Guess what? Yahawashi went into the heavens, right? But now it's talking about the sacrifice that was offered yearly, continually, make the comers thereunto perfect. So those sacrifices we was doing yearly, those atonements or those weekly sacrifices, it was not making us perfect. But Yahawashi did. In the NLT, it says the old system under the law of Moses was only a shadow, because everything came from the heavens. So everything that we supposed to be doing that pertain to the tabernacle, order, is all in the heavens. Teaching, angels, what are they? What are they? Messengers. What is the men of the Lord on the earth? They're messengers, right? This lesson is a message from a messenger, a watchman, a prophet, right? It says, a dim preview of the good things to come, not the good things themselves. The sacrifices under that system were repeated again and again, year after year, but they were never able to provide perfect cleansing for those who came to worship, right? What is it? Isaiah, I think Isaiah, is it Isaiah 56? Let me see. If it's not it, we'll just keep it moving. I think it's Isaiah 56. Lord willing, I'm right. Lord willing, if I'm not, we'll just keep on moving. Um, I forgot which one it was, but it was going into, you clean yourself with nectar, like soap, and you think it makes you clean. Um, Let me see. Probably got, yeah, I got the chapter wrong. It's Jeremiah 2 verse 22. Jeremiah 2 and 22 in the KJV. For though thou wash thee with nectar, take thee much soap, yet thy iniquities is marked before me, saith Yahawah Shemashai power. Right? We'll wash up just like brothers is dropping themselves in water and thinking they clean. Right? We truly get clean by being baptized in the name of Yahawah Shem Yahawashi. Let alone, the more you start to believe in the Lord, the more when you do make a mistake, you try to hurry up and call on the Lord. You're telling like, Lord, man, I'm a filthy rag. Please help me with my rebellion. Hey, Lord, please help me with my faith. The more you grow in the spirit, the more you examine yourself more. A lot of people ain't in the spirit because they're not examining themselves, right? The Lord sometimes got brothers rebuking you, right? And that's a sign. If you ain't rebuking you, the Lord gonna have somebody rebuke you. That's amazing, you know. Um, uh, Lord willing, is if anybody watching, is you understanding everything that's coming out. Just put a one in the chat, you know. Don't want to sound like I'm speaking to a wall, you know. And I always get that from the elder apostle Gabar and the bishop when they do their Tuesday class or any lesson. He always asks, I don't want to sound like a broken record, because I'm not in this thing to entertain you, right? I'm not in here to to speed time for you. I'm here to edify and to teach. Okay, okay. So it's making sense. It's not here and there. We trying to stay on point. Anybody else can put a one if you're understanding so far, right? So again, that old path or that old system was not making us clean. But Yahawashi is making us clean through his blood. Now back to Hebrews, the 10th chapter, in verse 2 in the KJV, it says, "For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers once purged should have had no more conscience of sins." Right? So soon as we sacrifice under the old system, right, we should have never had no conscience of sin. Right? That's why when you see Paul speaking on to women, or brothers, get your own wife, because we started committing adultery. Right? We'll see somebody get stoned for committing adultery, and we'll do it. We'll sacrifice, and a day later, a week later, a month later, they're committing adultery. They commit adultery. That's why stoning wasn't beneficial. Because if it was beneficial, none of us would have been committing adultery, right? And when we look at the time of the Samaritans, or even the time when Yahawashi came around, you had men passing women around. Oh, you know what? I don't want her. She don't wash dishes good. Put her away. That's why Yahawashi said that, when a daughter or son leave their mother and father, they become twine. We shouldn't really divorce unless it is a sin, unless the woman did commit adultery. But some men are just putting the women away just for anything. If a brother's getting a woman in the world and she's not hurrying up trying to be in his truth, right? You shouldn't just deal with her, but still, the time that you deal with her, you should be telling her to be in order, right? You should be telling her, hey, this is the way we supposed to be moving. But if she constantly bringing sin unto herself, or things that's defiling the temple, right? You got to give her a hard rebuke. But the men of the Lord, depending on how you building yourself up, eventually that woman will listen. It might take her a day, it might take her a week, it might take her a month. Look how you got in this truth. Some of us didn't just drop everything cold turkey, so we have to be patient. And I'm really talking to you men, right? In the NLT, it says, if they could have provided perfect cleansing, the sacrifices would have stopped, for the worshipers would have been purified once for all time, and their feelings of guilt would have disappeared, right? And even Yahweh Shaddai, we still be having guilt. I mean, depending if you in the spirit of the Lord, you be like, man, dude, I did this. Brothers be confessing it to one another. You be confessing small little things that's it ain't really nothing. But then we have moments where we do some foolish shit, right? And then you looking at yourself, or the spirit might hit a brother and be like, bro, don't do that. Yo, watch yourself. You know what I'm saying? Come on, be careful, right? Uh, the verse 3 in the KJV, but in those sacrifice, there is no remembrance again made of sins every year. In the NLT, but instead those sacrifices actually reminded them of their sins year after year. Right? When you do one, it reminds you of a sin that you did this year. And guess what? Through the Spirit, a lot of us do that now. Where you was thinking what you did 5 years ago. Some of them, in some of these verses, some of them is remember what they willfully did. Because even in history, some of Jake would be like, hey, get a sacrifice ready because I'm going to sin in a few hours. Right? Verse 4 in the KJV, it says, for it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. Right? NLT, for it is not possible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. Right? Verse 5 KJV, wherefore when we cometh into the world, he saith, sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared. Yahweh prepared a body. Yahweh Shai. That's Isaiah 46:10. Right? Because if he said he prepared a body, Isaiah 46:10, this is we supposed to be at joy, like the Lord really set us up for Yahweh Shai. This Isaiah 46:10, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand and I will do all my pleasure. It was the Lord's pleasure to to um, to prepare a body, and that body was Yahawashi. You go to Isaiah 53, the Heavenly Father smiting his son. The Romans didn't do it. Yes, physically we see that they did it, and the Israelites said, crucify him, but it was all set up in the heavens, right? The Lord is playing, he's playing his story. He wrote this story. So he created Yahawashi for everything he gave him to be a ruler, but to be a sacrifice, to be reincarnated, right? To for the for to be the example of the first fruits of the dead, the first fruits of the Heavenly Father, to be the example of the Son of God, because the elect men are the sons of God. Everything is a reflection to Yahawashi because it was the Lord's pleasure. In the NLT, it says, that is why when Hamashiach came into the world, he said to God, you did not want animal sacrifices or sins offerings, but you have given me a body to offer. The Lord didn't want bulls and goats, right? Right? The Lord created Yahawashi to be that perfect offering, right? You know, when you say it's finished, when Yahawashi said it's finished, now you got to think. When he said it's finished, it was finished for him to play that spot, to be that sacrifice, that perfect sacrifice that was going to cover all of us, right? The 2/3, you're covered by his blood, but who's going to have that favor? The elect. The elect is under that grace. Not all Israel. Not all Israel is under that favor on this side. But that favor, you 2/3 still got favor because you're covered by his blood, and you're going to get that physical death by pain on this side. Then you're going to come back and be reincarnated, and you're going to understand that you was stubborn, you was ignorant, that you was those ones, right? Guess what? It always been like that, because when you die, you go up to the heavens. You know your judgment is right there and then, and the Lord send you right back wherever that time is, and you back on earth, living it out, right? Lord willing, the Lord choose you to actually do his will, to be eager to please him, right? You know, when you got that good child and they always most likely behaving or doing what you tell them to do, you be like, see, that's my favorite child. It's not saying favorite nan and a boo boo. It's a favorite because every child and woman should be recognizing why a man or a woman would say that's my favorite, because that child listen. That child, just like me, they stay out of trouble, right? Through example, I got a favorite. My favorite is Araya, right? Because even when she get in trouble, even though she do cry or something, she'll really come to me right in my face and eventually tell me, hey, look, I'm sorry. Like, and be confident and really say it. Then say something spiritual, right? And the other kids, they do other things too. They even had a spiritual moment when they saying sorry or when they explain. But it's a different thing, because we connected probably different, let alone, however she might be afraid of me. But that doesn't mean she's better than anybody. Maybe in a certain example, but that just goes to the example that I'm showing, right? Yahawashi, what he did, nobody could do it. No other angel could do what Yahawashi could do. So it's an example even for us. We different because we humans. What everybody else is doing should motivate you to take an attribute off of them, right? I got my only man over here, TJ. So I look at him different. But still with certain things that he have an attribute that my daughters or my other kids can learn and take those attributes. My oldest, London, nobody can take her spot because she's the oldest. So somebody could take an attribute, how she move, how she think, maybe how she listen, right? Or how she take correction or how she order, right? And they can take attributes from her and be like, you know what? Oh, I need to be like her. I need to be more like her. And this is the whole thing about Yahawashi. When we go back to, what was that? First Peter's at 4. In the KJV, that thing was smacking. I ain't gonna hold you. It was smacking in the NLT though. You know what I'm saying? It was smacking. But let's read it in the KJV because I got things set up on my phone. This is First Peter's 4 in verse 1. It says, "For as much then as a Mashiach have suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind, for he have suffered in the flesh, have ceased from sin. Right? So if he suffered, we should do it. If he could do it, we could do it. If we could do it, somebody else can do it. So we, just like what I just said off of children getting this reflection, trying to be like them, we should be doing the same thing with Yahawashi. While we doing it with Yahawashi, we should be doing it with one another. Right? Brothers, if you got multiple wives, or three, two, one, if they're in this truth coming together, right, or you building up one to come in this truth, they should be taught to learn from one another, because that would make them stronger and that make them more attractive for you. Hey, I know you got a strong suit over here. She might not be the same as you in that strong suit, but help her to be more on fire. Help her to be more fire on her role. Hey, you always busy making moves, making plays. Right, guide her so that she can always be moving and making plays. Because it goes back to what is said in verse 2. You want to be anxious to do the will of the Heavenly Father. Be eager, right? When you go to, what is it, 2 Peter's 1 or 1 Peter's 1 and 10, right? You want to work hard to approve yourself to either be those that are called or chosen of Bahasham Yahawashi. So if we in this truth, that's another example of that law. Love your neighbor or love your brother as you love yourself. Right? If you correcting yourself, you building yourself, you striving, it should be the same thing with your sister, with your children. Right? A brother I labor with, if he's pushing himself, guess what? Brothers go in the chat and be like, hey, yo, brother, y'all should watch this video if you want to double up, if you want to, rebuke your spirit, or if you want to add more to the arsenal. Right? Because I'm not getting salvation on my own. I'm not striving to get salvation on my own. I know it's other Israelites in this thing, even outside my family, that want it, that eventually gonna want it. Right? So what should I do? Shine my light so that they can see a reflection, not to be like me, but get certain things so that they can apply within themselves to show the Lord Yahweh Shemashai that they're worthy. We're all supposed to be a reflection of one another. Better yet, a man is a great example for men and women, but a woman is going to take another example from another woman, you know, to make herself even more of an example of a woman of the Lord, right? So back to Hebrews 10 and 6. Sorry for that tangent. Verse 6 in the KJV. In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin, thou hast no pleasure, right? The Lord is not pleased with burnt offerings or other with burnt offerings and other offerings for sin. What did he tell Solomon? Oh, no, Saul, right? It's better to have obedience than sacrifice, right? Fuck that sacrifice. Give me obedience. And Yahawashi showed us the example of obedience and still was sacrificed. So now what do? We sacrifice ourselves. We sacrifice certain things of this world where, hey, on the weekend, hey, I'm gonna see my family every day, but then at a time as a man, I might want freshness, so I might sacrifice um sometimes maybe the first day of the weekend. I'm gonna sacrifice what I think I might want to go do on this side with this brother or with that family member or just by myself. Sacrifice that and dedicate some time in this word. But even throughout the week, I'm doing it every day, right? It's sometimes, hey, you might have a thought or something that you want to do. You want to sometimes sacrifice that for something for the Lord. And really directly to the men, the Lord got you brothers doing the most, right? So continue to sacrifice certain things. Continue to sacrifice things for Yahweh Hashem Yahawashi, right? Don't put him on standby. Put him in front and center, right? We all should be doing that. Putting more things of Yahweh Hashem Yahawashi front and center, right? Hey, if you do a ohm, like my household, I know, my love, sometimes she both of them actually giving. They give, hey, yo, you get, hey, yo, you get this. Hey, you know what? Hey, you got to go do this. I'll watch the kids. Guess what? Through the spirit that you giving. That's something spiritual, man, right? To do something for somebody else, somebody that's in need, not thinking that you being used, but hey, oh, let me do this. Hey, you know what? I see you about to go out. Hey, go take this $25. Oh yeah, while you out there, go give me some Tic Tacs. But hey, take this $20. I'm about to go watch them. You need a breather, right? Guess what? Outside of the dollar that you gave, the money you gave, you helping somebody go relieve themselves before they commit a sin, or if they want to go breathe air, or if they want to go chill with their grandma, and you like, you know what, let me watch the kids for you. Guess what? You just did a spiritual deed, and you might not even know it. You think, oh, I'm being used, or no. You gotta always think about doing things like Yahawashi. Yahawashi laid his life down for us. He did something for us. Literally, he paved the way for us. So you should be doing certain things to lay yourself down. Hey, a brother might be in a pickle. Hey, yo, bro, yo, when we go out and get food, you think I can use $20? Hey, yo, bro, you think you can give me a ride? My car, my dad got my car, right? It might be the littlest things, but how you act. Oh man, I didn't want to. And you ready? I got you. I'm gonna give you a ride. Hey, yo, this Saturday I gotta move, or I gotta go take this, or I gotta go here. Instead of me paying $50 for an Uber, you think you could pick me up and take me, bro? That little thing right there. Guess what? You doing a deed for even more for a fellow brother that even believe. Let alone, what about those that don't believe? Right? Always think of that. Doing the little can always be the most. Right? The brother Shamak is in the building. Yahawah Shemashai Brakatah. Right? The brother dropped Sirach, Ecclesiasticus 12 and 2. Do good to the godly man, and thou shalt find a recompense, repay, and if not from him, yet from the Most High. Right? And sidebar, don't just do things because you know you're getting a reward. Do it because uh, uh, you eagerly, or you have a delight to do it, or do it because you know this is Hamashiach like, right? Because you got some kids. If I clean up, I'm gonna get me some ice cream. I'm gonna get me a snack. Do it because you don't want to live in no filthy house. Do it because you wanna get yourself ready to be like, you know what? Eventually, I'm gonna be a wife, so I gotta do this, right? Always try to do something because you're doing it for the Lord. That's Colossians 3:23. If somebody put it up there, right? Do whatsoever heartily unto Yahawah Shema Shai, not unto men. Whatever you do it like you're doing it for the Lord, right? Hebrews 10 and 7, the KJV. Then said I, lo, I come. In the volume of the book, it is written of me to do thy will, O power, right? This book is written of Yahweh. He comes in a whole volume of the book. This chapter from verse 1 to 10 is speaking directly about Yahawashi, right? Yahawashi was delighted to do the Heavenly Father will. Did he not do it? Yeah. Oh, brother, I don't got no proof. Shoot, by faith you got proof. You got to believe that he did it, right? There's so many things pointing to show that God, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi is real. The brother put it, the water. Colossians 3:23, and whatsoever ye do it heartily as to Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, not unto men. Whatever you do, right? Your wife, she gotta look like she doing it for Yahawah. I'm cooking his food, right? He like this order, you know what? He don't want to be he about to go out, you know what? I know he don't want to be bothered. Look at it like you're doing it to Yahawashi. And I'm only saying this for any brother that do have problems, like our wives, right? Really should be knowing that they should be looking at us like Yahawashi, right? We're not Yahawashi, but being brothers or abiding in Yahawashi. 1 John 2 and 6. A man of the Lord should be walking like Yahawashi. And if a true woman of faith can see that, you should be acting different, handling thoughts, because everything we do on this side is like a reflection, like we're in the kingdom. Because isn't kingdom the kingdom is within you? You're moving different. You're moving different, right? In the NLT it says that was good. Do whatsoever unto Yahweh, do whatsoever heartily, like you're doing it unto Yahweh by Shema Shai, not unto men. Right? Even with teaching, I'm doing it before I be like, man, dang, ain't nobody watching. I would still do video, but still, even if nobody watching or somebody is, you got to know how you doing it for Yahweh by Shema Shai, because he's front and center watching you. If you a false prophet or the prophet he sent, he's still watching. And I believe 1,000, not even a percentage, that Yahawah Shema Shai watching me. Through an angel, sitting on the throne, I know he see me, right? I do not want to teach nothing wrong. I do not want to teach a new doctrine. I don't want to teach a nigga this way. and bring them up and down. No, I want to go sound doctrine, just like from the elder apostles on down, all the way to the affiliates of Great Millstone, man. Right? In the NLT verse 7, it says, "Then I said, look, I come to do your will, O power, as it is written about me in the scriptures." In the KJV verse 8, above, when he said, "Sacrifice and offering and burnt offerings and offering for sin, thou wouldest not, neither had his pleasure therein, which are offered by the law." In the NLT, first, Hamashiach said, "You did not want animal sacrifices, or sin offerings, or burnt offerings, or other offerings for sin, nor were you pleased with them, though they were required by the law of Moses." They were required, but they were symbolic to Yahawashi. Right? Yeah, he right. He's watching. Oh, the brother put Colossians 3 and 24, Salaki. Knowing that, knowing that of Yahawah Bahasham Shai, ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Hamashiach. Yo, that's the second thing you want to know. You're serving Hamashiach Yahushai. Right? That's why brothers should not be thinking that your work is going unavoided. It doesn't matter if it's 5, 4, 3, nobody, even if it's 100 people watching. You get done with the video, you see 70 people watching. Guess who mattered the most? Yahawah Ba'ashim Yahushai. Later on, you get to ask the Lord, please, Lord, do not let me teach nothing new. Please don't let me go into a strong delusion. Please don't let me drift away. Because guess what? This teaching can overwhelm Jake and make him get puffed up and think he doing it. Oh, I'm bringing y'all to the Lord. No, you're not. All you doing is planting the water, and the Lord is the one that gives the increase. Yahawashi is the one that raised that person up. You ain't doing nothing but running your mouth. The Lord say this preaching is foolish, but it's only for those that believe. You doing the teaching, but in the spirit realm, the Lord is doing the heavy lifting, right? So really, you are serving Yahawah Ba'ashim Shai in the end, right? So the Lord don't care for that, the sacrifice where brothers say law, which the law is our style, our custom, our tradition, our religion, right? But everything was all to point to Yahweh Shai. Verse 9 in KJV, then said he, lo, I come to do thy will, O power. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second. What's the second? The marriage, right? Which is going to lead us to this new covenant, right? Which we're in the middle, because we still got our foot in the old covenant still, right? Because the law is not written in our minds. Brother got to read. Brother still teaching one another. Brother still exhortating, encouraging, right? Giving forth the prophecies to one another. We're fully not in this thing. If somebody shoots you right now, it's hurting, right? And you still low. In the NLT, it says, then he said, look, I have come to do your will. He canceled the first covenant in order to put the second into effect, right? And it's going to be established when Yahweh Shai come, right? Verse 10 to KJV, by the which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Yahweh Shai Hamashiach once for all, right? We're justified through the offering of Yahweh Shai. In the NLT, for God's will was for us to be made holy, set apart, Kodash, by the sacrifice of the body of Yahweh Shai Hamashiach once for all, right? So we're set apart, right, through Yahweh Shai sacrifice, right? You don't abuse what you got. You should be using it. This is the most beneficial thing that we got in our life, man. What Yahweh Shai did for us, right? Are you using this moment? Right? Let's get a few more, then we're gonna close. This is 1 Peter 3 and 18. For Hamashiach also have once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but quickeneth by the Spirit, right? We're made alive in the Spirit, right? A lot of us are wholesome in the Spirit. How you move, how you think, like how brothers deal with certain situations. It's truly because of the Spirit, right? Because, what is it? The flesh profits nothing, but the Spirit does. Or The flesh is weak and the spirit is willing, right? The Lord made us a quickening by the spirit. He made us alive, right? Through the spirit, a lot of us is living. Like for any man or woman that's fully in this truth, you're living, while everybody else is spiritually dead without wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Revelations 11 and 8 is still in effect, right? So arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. Romans 13, verse 12 and 14. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Night is the example of darkness, the day represents light. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness. Let us put on the armor of light, right? And that armor is going to lead, that light is leading us to wisdom, knowledge, understanding, which is going to guide us to Ephesians, the 6th chapter, right? Verse 10 all the way to 17 or 18. Let us walk honestly as in the day, right? Walk honestly in the light, not in rioting, drunkenness, not in chambering or wantonness, not in strife, not in envy, right? So we shouldn't be in this truth for to cause strife or have strife, especially when you at camp teaching a brother he getting hostile through the spirit. You're not here to make a fight. We're not in here to envy or to make somebody envy you or to envy another brother, right? I shouldn't be in this thing to envy Pato Tahara what he got, right? Because then eventually he's gonna go into covetousness, right? It's all about serving the Lord. How can you do your best? How can you sharpen up? How can you get better, right? For a woman, you can't really be a man, so how can you be better? By seeing the examples of the wives in the scriptures, Judith, right? Or hearing what your husband like, how actually listen to him say, yo, you need to do this, do that. Don't take it in an emotional state. Take it for that spiritual relationship, because you're not only doing this for him, you're truly doing it for Mashiach Yahawashi. Who's gonna beam you up? Yahawashi. Who give you the glorified body? Yahawashi. Who's gonna give you the kingdom? Yahawashi. Who's gonna let you know that you're the elect? Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. Not you, not me. You know, it's all through Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, right? Everything that you do, right? Verse 14 it says, but put on the Lord Yahawashi Mashiach and make no provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof, right? We don't want to fulfill those things, right? Philippians 2 and 5 it says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Hamashiach, right? That's why we have to be the same as Yahawashi, especially you men that's teaching. Yahawashi was a minister. He was a servant of servants. The men of the Lord, you should be servants of the servants. Constantly looking at the state of flock. This is why brothers is teaching in all different areas. Right before, I like a lot, I was just teaching words. Then I was only going into the law. Right now I go into the hard things I never went into. Then I gotta really read, go into some history, go into some wordplay, and then sometimes if I get stuck and I'm not getting it myself, you gotta get guided. So I go look for videos, because I have to do the same reflection as the people of Berea. I gotta do the same example as Paul. He being taught by Yahawashi through the Spirit. So me through the Spirit is being guided through the scriptures by somebody that has experience in this thing. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Hebrews 12 and 3 it says, for consider him that endures such contradictions for sinners against himself, lest ye be weary and faint in your minds. Right? So we got to consider Yahawashi was getting contradicted. Right? You gonna have Jake, man, nah, brother, nah, man, you saying hell ain't real. Nah, man, what about this? And then you bringing out the precepts, right? What it's saying, Isaiah 8 and 20, right? In the NLT. I like it in the NLT. What was it? Isaiah. Isaiah 8 and 20 in the NLT, it says, look to God's instruction and teachings. People who contradict his word are completely in the dark, right? So guess what? When they was contradicting Yahawashi, they was in darkness, right? But if people was contradicting what you teaching, you saying you bringing forth 100% truth, sound doctrine, right? They contradicting it, right? Hey, just because they saying that, and they might be hitting you with precepts and scriptures, right? Still hold your integrity, still call and pray unto Yahawah Bahasham Shai, and continue to sharpen yourself up. And I ain't gonna lie, mostly everybody that is doing that, coming against the men of the Lord, you become a video, right? Um, I want to get these, and then I'm gonna close. This is Romans chapter 6, verse 2. God forbid, how shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Verse 7. For he that is dead is free from sin. Right? How are we dead? We're dead from the sacrificial in the ceremonies of the temple, right? Because of Yahawashi. It says, likewise, reckon ye also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto God through Yahawashi HaMashiach Yahawashi. Right? We want to be dead to sin, right? Because of your faith should overpower your sin, right? And even with your faith, you're always looking at doing things to please the Lord. Now let me go to this Romans 3, right? Because I did say a lot. Romans 3 verse 31 in the KJV, it says, "Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. Yet we establish the law." In the NLT, well then, if we emphasize faith, does this mean that we can forget about the law? Of course not. In fact, only when we have faith do we truly fulfill the law, right? Because when you really have faith in the Lord, that faith goes along with fear in the Lord, right? Because if you have faith in Yahawashi, that Yahawashi did these miracles, Yahawashi did that, guess what? You're going to have fear because uh, you're not going to want to teach nothing wrong, right? Paul, he knew he was persecuting the church. And the Lord brought him in his faith. And knowing that he must have to suffer in this thing, that man Paul continued to keep pushing. Paul is a beautiful example. Peter is a beautiful example. Deny Yahawashi came back in this. Had the same dream 3 times, couldn't understand it, but then eventually got it. Got rebuked by Paul, acting funny to the Gentiles when he seen the Jews, but still in this. Those are examples of being corrected, being rebuked. Brothers say, oh man, brothers always rebuking that. That's hating your brother. But what about the examples in the scriptures? Right? Those that's taking this rebuke, those that's taking these lessons, those that's taking the signs, those that are taking these examples and applying it within their life to be more beneficial for Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. Yahawashi laying his life down for us is the biggest example, man. Right? The biggest example. He didn't have to do it, but he did it. And not he didn't do it for himself first. He did it for Yahawah because he asked him, he told him to do it. Right? Then he did it for you because that shows that he loved you before you loved him. Right? I think that's in First John. I think that's in First John. First John. Right. This is First John chapter 4, verse 18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. We love him because he first loved us. How he first loved you? Man, he knew you before he even created you. That's super love, right? Don't you know a man and a woman, right? We be thinking about, okay, you know what? This time I'm about to nut in you, baby. We about to have a kid, and you don't know if you love that child yet. The child didn't even come out yet. You don't know how it look. You don't know if it's a boy or a girl until you go to the doctors, right? You don't know if it's because love is an action and it's truth. You didn't get to do no action and you didn't get to do nothing true. But the Lord did love you before he created you, because let alone he thought of you. He knew what you was going to look like, right? The Lord already, he knows how you looked in all your times being on the earth, because all your images was in the mind of the Lord. All your images was in the mind of the Lord. He knew that you was going to be a boy. He knew that you was gonna be a girl. Come on, man. Him even thinking of you, him creating you, him allowing you to be an Israelite, that's love, man. Love. Oh, he loved all the nations. When we go into these scriptures, when we first deal with love, we have to deal with the people he loves, and that's the Israelites. You other nations, you were created to be servants for us. So that's still love for us. I created them for you. Because in the end of all of this story, what's going to happen? Y'all going to be servants under us. So that's another example that he loves us. And Yahawashi love us because instead of him being selfish and stingy, he's going to allow the elect to be joint heirs with him. That's love, man. What love got to do with it? What love got to do with it? Man, I just want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahawah, Bahasham, Lord willing, this is edifying to the hopeful elect, but double honors to Salaki. All praise to Yahawah, Bahasham, Kodash, the water Yahawah, Bahasham, for another edifying lesson to me and to the other believers, Lord willing. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of great millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. And a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect in the same Spirit. Teach his word and believe in his word. In sound doctrine in the same Spirit, Lord willing, that you all continue to endure and be sincere. Shalom to the Akwatiyam, believers of this truth and this faith. Lord willing, you continue to endure and be sincere, pursuing your lot, being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. Lord willing, the most have mercy on the other brothers and sisters not in the faith. Shalom. Shalom. Blah, blah, blah.